A lot of people obviously interpret it or celebrate it for different reasons when it comes to Cinco de Mayo. But let's talk about how the history got its start and how it came to be here.
Yep, Cinco de Mayo looks a lot different here, obviously, in the U.S. than it does in Mexico. And joining us to talk more about the meaning and contrast is San Diego State professor and graduate advisor of Latin American Studies, Dr. Ramona Perez. Thank you so much for being here today.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
Let's talk a little bit about the significance of Cinco de Mayo.
Okay. So Cinco de Mayo is actually the celebration of a battle. And the battle occurred obviously on the 5th of May in 1862. It was when the French, I'm going to back up a little bit. Benito Juarez was president of Mexico at that time. And they had just gone through three really deep wars. The 1821 independence from Spain, the 1846 to 1848 war with the United States over territories, and their own civil war in 1857. So when Benito Juarez takes a look at the treasury, he realizes he doesn't have enough in the coffers after these three wars to begin to pay back some debt to some of the European countries, and in particular, England or Great Britain, Spain, and France. So he advises them that he's going to default. He needed a 2-year suspension on those loans. So the three came together and decided they were going to send troops to Mexico to collect their debt. In the interim, Juarez was able to negotiate with Great Britain and Spain, and so they gave him the reprieve. France, however, under Napoleon III, decided this was his time to actually extend his monarchy into Mexico. And so he sends 6,000 of his elite troops who had not lost a battle in a very long time to Mexico in order to take over Mexico. So he enters through Veracruz and then comes into Puebla, and in fact into the city of Puebla de Los Angeles. And he's met, these 6,000 troops are met by 2,000, that's it, 2,000 troops from Mexico who are tired. They really were not as trained as military at that point. And one of the more interesting things is they're primarily indigenous. Indigenous Zapotec, Mixtec, and other people from Puebla and the border of Oaxaca. And the other thing that most people don't realize is there's about 300 Tejanos from the US who are also part of this 2,000 troops that meets this French elite troop. And they defeat them.
And so that's Cinco de Mayo. That's the idea of overcoming the David versus Goliath.
Absolutely.
You almost want to say Ukraine versus Russia.
All right.
Right? Talk about debt
If we're going to
default,
talk about
something. Bring it to today. There's a lot of things going on today
Yes.
that feel very
History
similar here.
repeats itself,
So obviously this is not Mexico's independence. What's interesting here is France ended up taking over.
They did.
A couple years later.
They
So
did.
why celebrate something that ultimately didn't really win the war?
But
If it-
didn't
the-
it?
it won
It
the
depends
battle.
on what we're really talking about. It ends up being a huge celebration. And what happens is these 300 Tejanos go back to Texas. And in a moment of resistance to this 3-year period that France actually has control over of Mexico through Maximilian, they celebrate every 5th of May as a kind of statement. And then many Californian Mexican Americans and Mexicans pick it up and they're celebrating. So it's kind of this check on them to let them know that France isn't going to be able to retain this.
Why has this become such a big holiday when, for example, Mexican Independence Day isn't
Is in
celebrated?
September.
That's our big fireworks, show and celebration. Why Cinco de Mayo more than the actual Independence Day of Mexico?
I think you have to remember that it is about resilience. It's about seeing ourselves as Mexicanas, as Mexicanos, as Mexican Americans, as having the ability to defeat, being underestimated, and really making a statement about who we are. And so that continues today. In the 1930s, under Roosevelt's Good Neighbor policy, right, that became this bridge. They kind of knew this was happening with these small groups of people. This became a bridge and a way to say to the rest of Latin America that the US is embracing that part of Latin America in their culture. And then in the 1960s, with the Civil Rights Movement, it really becomes a statement, right? It becomes a statement about empowerment, about resilience, and about who we are as this kind of long-term culture within the United States. And then in the 1970s and 80s, Corona, Tecate, and other beer companies pick it up, and it becomes a way in which Hispanic businesses can really thrive during this period.
It's really a source of pride, though, for
It
so
is.
many, rather than obviously people are always Cinco de Drinko, they just need a reason to celebrate.
Yeah.
But truly, it's about Mexican pride.
It is, very much so. And it stands today as this moment of saying, when you underestimate us, here we are, we've got the ability, don't underestimate us.
Before we let you go, is it celebrated just a little bit differently in Mexico than it is here?
In Mexico, it's not really a holiday. In Puebla, however, it is. And it's very much a holiday that embraces their indigenous heritage.
So we just celebrate on this side of the border primarily.
Because of the Tejanos.
Unless you're in Puebla de Los
Yeah.
Angeles, if you want to really celebrate that, you would have to go literally into the town. And what's beautiful about it is you can really see that celebration of indigenous and mestizo life at this time, because that's when they came together, really was in this moment to protect Mexico.
So interesting to think about the overcoming, that being the big theme here, because there's a lot of other cultures that celebrate exactly that coming from, we were
Absolutely.
underestimated, but we overcame and ultimately fought for
Under-equipped,
ourselves.
under-weaponized, under everything.
Right, right. And for many, it also really hits home on the indigenous perspective of Mexico, and I think that's really, really important.
Dr. Ramona Perez, thank you so much for coming in and giving us some insight into this. It's so important. If you want to learn more about Cinco de Mayo, just visit our website, fox5sandiego.com.